Hartsville, Sandy Cross, 4 miles out of this way, over from Bond's Grocery. You know, where they're going towards going towards the landfill. You know what landfill is? Well, if you're going towards the landfill, my house would be up on the hill with a big red and white windmill in the yard and board fence around it, on the other side of Ernie Dial. You know where he lives?
No.
The old Tack Roach farm.
Yeah.
That's what it is. About what they have.
You know about the old folks now dying now, I know.
He was a terrible fox hunter. Tack Roach was.
Yeah.
You guys want to stick around?
Well,
Y'all want to listen to my story?
Yes, listen to his story.
Oh, she would.
It's my will.
Now I'd rather listen to him.
Yeah, he might feel more comfortable then. Would you?
Yeah.
I don't mind. I'm quite a talker anyway, you know. This team's here very good.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm still shooting on the 1st of August, and I believe I'm speaking with...
You probably can't read it.
I can barely read it. Is it Paul Edward Redden?
Paul Edward Redden.
Redden.
Redden, R-E-D-D-E-N. Right.
And Mr. Redden, please tell me a little bit about where you were during that World War II era.
I'll tell you my name and where I'm from and where I was inducted from and where I was taking my boot training and all this.
I want it.
I was in Norfolk. I left Beckley, West Virginia. I'm a mountaineer in the coal mine fields, and went to Charleston, and I left Charleston and went to Camp Little Creek, Virginia, and then I went up into Great Lakes, done my training up there, and then left there and went back down there and went into the Bronx Balloonist. They trained me to put up a balloon that had 18 helium cylinders put in it, and we put it up in the air on a piano wire, and it was trained us to put these things up on the back of a ship, and it went straight up, 2,000 or 1,000 feet at dawn. I mean, right at dusk. We take them out at dawn. I mean, you know what I'm talking about anyhow. Anyhow, we put them up, and then we'd take them down. But this thing was inflated down there, and that's where I'd taken my training. And it was four-man crew. We put these things up, and one got loose down there with me with a sandbag and dragged me down through the field with it, because it was heavy. If it get loose, they just go straight up and go into flames. So left there and went into England. Out of New York, I went up to Halifax, got snowed under up there, left out of there and going towards England. And I was in the amphibious force, LST 134. And we left there and we started out across a convoy and got in a typhoon. And we had drums of oil tied down with big chains of rope on top of the ship. And it got loose and rolled backwards and forwards on the hatches and busted it all to pieces. And the only way we could stay in that ship is get down a little hall about like this here and put our feet up on one side and one on the other. And we was out there and we got for 21 days. We were supposed to be in England for that time. And we was lost, the only ship out there, floating around, oil all over that thing. We finally got there and we was right in enemy territory. And we went into England, and then I taken some more training on the balloonist. So some guys kept telling me, he said, this is the only thing holds England up is these balloons. So I'd taken about a week over there, and then we fooled around over in England, and then we finally got ready for the invasion of Normandy beachhead. I hit it D-Day on Omaha Beach, taking assault troops in, and when I went in there, the tide went in, and we went in there, and And I looked back, we put all the anchor out we had. I looked back, and I don't know how many thousands of feet of anchor rope we had on it, but you could see it way back there in the back, and the tide doesn't go on past it. But we done dropped all our troops off, and as we went in, the ships was blowing up on both sides of us. It was vibrating mines is blowing them up, and the troops and everything. The tank's deck was plumb full of troops, tanks, trucks. Top deck was full of troops, and the sky was so. The sky was so full of airplanes you could just look like a big black spot, and the sea looked like just another ships all over everywhere, just nothing but a big roar when you went in. And the ships started sinking, and the bodies started floating, and it was coming up with full packs on. And when we hit, and we done got into the beachhead then, and it was all over everywhere. And they started shooting them down, and when they started up the hillside, and they shot them up, and we stayed there at night. I don't know, it's really like a big dream. And so when we went in there we were set in the middle of night. They'd come and they put these big flares out over some ships lined up down the shore, just sitting there. And they'd come in bombing. They put them flares up, here they'd come bombing. And I guess it's the only one ship that ever had a load of sand on top of it, no water underneath it. And we stayed in there. There's an awful lot of people got killed, and there's so many bodies that you could walk on the bodies. Looked like a logging in one of these waters where they throw logs in the water in place. The body was so slick you could walk on them. And then on the beach, after a while, they started gathering up all the bodies, and they taken a big tank with a great big blade on it along the big bank over there on the shore, and they pushed out a big hole, and they had them guys stacked up like cords of wood, and they pushed them in that hole and covered them up. And I'll bet you they're still there. I'll bet you they're still there. And they show you all that stuff. You've seen that on TV where they show you all that grave, all where the monument is on the top. That's where I was at, right on that beach. That gun turret, that pillbox and everything on there, I went up in it. But I never did get to go back. But then we hauled German prisoners, and we hauled only one French woman died there, and was hauling back into England. And then after that I hit southern France, and all this is on salt troops we've taken in on. When we opened the bow doors up, we let them all out. We was on the beach, and they were shooting Germans and running them around trees on the hillside. That's how close we was. And they started shooting at us and putting out smoke screen discs on southern France. And then they started shooting at us, and I said, well, then next one's going to get it. It kept getting closer and closer. And it got up in there, but the bodies on the beach there, they were shooting them down too, just fast as they get to the beach. And I thought they was going to get us any minute. And every time that shell, he just getting closer and closer. So finally I said, wonder when they're going to get this thing off. And backing it off, and started backing off, and this little old smoke screen boat come around us. And when he put around us, I couldn't see a thing in. I know good and well he's going to hit me, because we couldn't see. And them shells already done buried in on you almost already, and there we was. It didn't hit us. We went on out. Then, after that, we hauled French Moroccos and their donkeys and their wives in there, one load. And like they never got the ship cleaned up. They liked to use the commode, but they didn't know how. So these guys stood about 7 foot something. Their muscles was that big around on their arm. And they shaved each other's head. And we had this little old thing. It was only a 35-man crew on that ship. And all the trains down in there, they'd go down in there, instead of sitting on them, they'd stand on them and let it go. That was the awfulest mess that you ever smelled in your life. And all the old birds, them little old donkeys was there. They brought them aboard. Brought their wives aboard with a full pack. And they didn't carry nothing. All they carried was a rifle and a big sharp knife. And they'd lay out there and mumble to themselves on top deck. I was scared to go to sleep.
Was the war still raging when they went back to French Morocco there?
Huh?
Was the war still going on when they went back to French Morocco?
It was still going on. I don't know where we taking them. I went so many places in that. I was only 13 and a half months at sea. I only got off the ship for about 4 times, and I only on for about 2 hours to 3 hours. And it wasn't much. After they'd taken over Italy, we went into Italy. And I'll tell you a little story about Italy. We got Liberty, so they parked the ship out out from us there in the bay. And we'd taken one of the small boats and went in for Liberty. We got in there, and me and my buddy, we went up and looking all around these bombed out buildings, and we found us a girlfriend, and we stayed too long. So the boat come and picked all the guys up at the dock, and here we was sitting way out there, and the ship was supposed to leave the next morning. Golly, what we going to do? So what we done, I said, don't worry about it. There wasn't nobody going to come back after us either. So went up along the dock there, and they had these little dinky boats. We borrowed one. I said, come on, we're going to borrow this. And it wasn't but about 4 foot, about 5 or 6 feet long. Beautiful little old boat. So I get in here, and we had the oar in it. We oared out, back out the ship, and the guy led us on watching the gangplank. He seen us coming, and he got us back up on the ship and pulled our boat up. I kept that boat until we got in another storm, and I had it on the fantail, and they decided they're going to go get that boat that fell off of the rack out there. And he got in it and went to the boat, got the boat, and sunk mine, getting into it. That was in that boat. That was in that little tail. But I stayed there, and we didn't have much thing. What we had on the ship there is a lot of cave rations and old, powdered eggs and stuff like that. The stuff that was rotten. But they did have good coffee, and hearty chokes, I call them, graham crackers out in sugar. And that's what I lived off of most of. Go buy that thing, get that off. Yeah. And that just about summed it up. And then I came back into the States and came into New York. Meantime, coming back, we hit one of them great big, not a reef, it's a great big white top thing comes up out of the thing. We run into it and ripped a 5-foot hole in the bottom of the ship. And we sealed off the compartment and made it on into New York. And they put it in a dry dock up there, and some of the guys slipped down through the hole and left and went out on Liberty while I was in a dry dock. So I got discharged. I left there and went there, and then I went back to Norfolk, Virginia. And then from there I went back into Galveston, Texas. And I was stationed there in Galveston. And I met my wife there. I hit Normandy Beach Head on June the 6th. And next year after that, June the 6th, I married. June the 6th. 2 days in my life, and that was in Galveston. I met my wife. And then I'd taken her They discharged me, sent me back to Virginia. I discharged out of there, and that's where I started at. Back home again.
How'd you come to settle in Hart County and Royston?
Well, it's a long story. I worked in a coal mine for about 11 and a half years, and 38 inches of coal. And my wages was $6 a day. Bread was 12 cents a loaf. Now, and then I left there out of the coal mines, and I was doing their electrical work and their maintenance work on all their continuous miners and all their stuff like that in the coal mines, keeping up all the tipples and all our machinery. And so I got out of it and went to Florida, and I went to Tampa. I went in for business for myself, and I had the hydro crane service down there, running road cranes, putting up steel, bar joist, or anything like that you want to put up. And when I was 55, I had a heart attack, and 4 bypasses, and arteries going all up into my head here, had been cut loose twice, and so I had to quit my business and sell it out, and I come back up here and bought a farm, and I retired up here. I didn't retire, I'm still running cattle. So that's about it.
Have you ever seen any of the old characters who you may have bumped into during those World War II years?
Yeah, the boys, they were so little. The ship was 35 crewmen. I had 2 from my hometown. There's 3 of us on it. So when we got back, I went to see one of them. The other one, I never did see him anymore, but the other one, he lived right close to me. So I did see him. He worked in the coal mines, I guess, till he died, because he wasn't in good health anyway.
And what town was that, Beckley or
Beckley.
Been there?
Yeah. But Charleston was the state capital. That's where we had to go and get enrolled in there. Yeah.
Can you recall joining up? Can you recall the outbreak of war? Can you remember what it felt like to leave West Virginia?
No, I guess I just a young boy. I just didn't make a bit of difference where I went. My mother died while I was in boot camp, and after that I didn't have a home, so it didn't make too much difference.
What year would that have been?
Hmm?
What year?
She died in 43. So I didn't stay in the service about a year and a half, about a year and 6 months. I was out.
What did they call those boats that you were taking those cargoes on?
That was LSTs. LSTs. The ones that the doors open up in the front and drop the ramp down. They hold quite a few people.
What did LST stand for?
Landing craft or something like that.
I don't know either.
Landing ship tanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, tanks, okay. But we was, those things that they helped a lot of stuff. Because you can put a lot of trucks and tanks in one of them things, because it was, I think it's about 200 foot long. And it's a pretty big thing. And we dropped out there when we went in Normandy Beachhead. We dropped out amphibious tanks. The tanks would just roll out in the water and right on across. We dropped out one truck. First one I think went out. I seen go out. When he was going out, had these reefs going in and out. And so what he done, they had the stacks on the trucks, the breather and the exhaust, way up above the windshield. And them things went out till I thought it was going to go in about that much sticking out, and the guy was standing up in the seats. He was standing up and it's still going. Some of them did get there. Some of them drowned, a lot of guys drowned and get putting them out there, because what they happened when they went in Normandy beachhead, they had these big reefs. You just maybe going along, and all at once you go down. It wasn't no. Them guys, it went in. Them troops that went in, they had a pack on their back that'd sink them. Full pack. When they hit one of them things, a lot of times they just drowned. Wasn't no other way out. So, and after I went over there, after a while, I went over in a ship, LSM, I think it was, LSM. Anyhow, it was a boat. It was up against the bank over there, turned up on the side, and they let me go ashore, a bunch of us, and went over there, and I went down in it, and went in the gun cage and got a 45 automatic and all ammunition I could get. And the other guy, he got all the guns he could get. And I walked on back in the back, and this guy's leg from here to here, laying back in it, it was full of water on the side. And the guy's leg had been blown off and laying in there back in the back. And the whole funny had been busted, but blew off of it. Awfulest mess you ever seen. But Normandy beachhead was one of the worst, I guess it was, when they're trying to get up that big bank. They shot them down how fast they went up. Southern France wasn't like that. They pretty well had the Germans under control when they got there. Then all at once we get out in the sea there, and they said, the war's over. We had home. Yeah.
How long did it take to get out of the army after the end of the war? How much longer were you in the service?
It wasn't very long, about 4 months. It wasn't long. And they asked me, did I want to, they gave me out in the muster out plane, they asked me, did I want to re-enlist? And they said, you know, they're going to give you some kind of bone or something. I told that guy, I said, look here, I don't want no more part of it. I can do my own thinking. So I got out.
What'd you all think of Eisenhower, the commander
I
over there?
Eisenhower done all right. I was a young boy then. I didn't know too much about politics and one thing and another. But I think he was a nice fellow.
Were there people you listened to on the radio or letters you look forward to? Anything you can remember about being overseas at that time?
No, I don't know much about it. I didn't get any letters. Didn't have nobody write to me.
Well, I'll leave you with the last question I've been asking just about everybody. If you were looking back and talking to younger people, what would you tell younger folks about those days, about that time?
Well, like he said, that you know, these young people now they take things for granted. They just don't. It's really different from what it was when I grew up. Everybody cared about everybody, and like you say, you could go in, you could leave something down, it wouldn't have to worry about it, somebody carrying it off. Or the mailbox could be out on the road, they wouldn't knock it down. Worst thing you'd get into, I guess, would be on Halloween, get out and turn somebody's toilet over. But it's different. It's something to think about.
Well, thanks for speaking to me on this tape here,
Okay.
and I'm really pleased to have met you and have heard where you've been.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Redden. I'm going to turn the tape off.